And welcome back. We are at module 3 of Sleep Deep already. And this is where the magic really begins, where we really start to optimize your sleep. So, this module, we are getting into holistic approaches to optimal sleep. We are getting into everything from stress management to nutrition and eating habits, sleep support. I'm going to share with you some specific supplements that you might consider taking, some different herbs and foods and nutrients that are really sleep supportive. We're going to talk about physical activity and exercise and the impact of that, of finding that Goldilocks rule of not too much, not too little, but just right. We're going to talk about the role of detoxification and gut support, as well as hormone balancing for optimizing your sleep. So, in lesson 1, we are getting right into the very first pillar of optimal sleep, which is stress management. So, if there was one thing that you did to really optimize your sleep for most people in the society that we live in and the pace of life that most of us have, we have lots of responsibilities. We've got lots going on in our lives with work and relationships, maybe kids, family, and all of this. Stress management is really the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to really optimizing our sleep in the deepest level. And here's why. So the sleep and stress connection is this. So two main hormones that we need to know about when it comes to our sleep. Number 1 is cortisol. Cortisol is our primary stress hormone. This is what's going to, of course, give us energy, motivation, zest for life. We wake up in the morning with higher levels of cortisol. That gives us energy for the day, motivation for the day. However, too much cortisol, too much stress, has a negative effect on the body. The second main hormone that we need to know about is melatonin. And melatonin, we've heard of it as a supplement, right? Something that you can take to help with sleep, but it's actually a naturally occurring neurochemical that is produced in our brain. And it's our primary sleep hormones or sleep chemical. Now, what we need to understand is that there is a very fine balance and a intricate relationship between cortisol and melatonin. So, for example, they work in opposition of each other. So, when melatonin is high, meaning when we're sleeping really well, we're sleeping well throughout the night, it actually turns off our cortisol and it reduces our stress hormone. That's why melatonin is one of the most brain rejuvenative hormones, as well as supplements that we can take. It has such a rejuvenating effect on the body and brain because it shuts down that stress hormone, that cortisol production. However, it also works in the other way. When cortisol levels are high and we have higher than normal levels of stress, especially before bed, it's going to actually shut down our melatonin production. So we can't simultaneously produce adequate melatonin that's needed for sleep when our stress hormones and our cortisol levels are high. So we actually need to, and from a biochemical perspective, right? Emotionally, we need to reduce stress. Physiologically, we need to reduce that cortisol because it is inhibiting the production of melatonin, which is needed for quality night sleep. So just remember that kind of inverse relationship. When cortisol goes up, melatonin production goes down. And when melatonin goes up, that cortisol gets turned down. So it's a bit of a chicken or the egg situation. What do we deal with first? But the main thing we want to know is that we need to be working on stress levels. So let's get into some stress management. So we've all heard of, there's of course countless, endless, stress management tools and whatnot out there. So we'll go through a few, and I would love for you to pick from these lists one or two. I don't want you to get to all of them, but pick one or two that you think is going to be most supportive to really get on top of your stress levels, and whether you're needing something long term to overall reduce stress in your life. Maybe there's some lifestyle adjustments that need to be made, right? Unnecessary stressors, but also just a daily commitment and practice of having a daily anchor in your day to help your body come back to balance, right? To reduce those cortisol levels, to come back to balance or homeostasis so that your serotonin and your melatonin, these two essential hormones for that circadian rhythm to stay in balance in our sleep wake cycles, can really remain in check. So here's some daily practices. Mindfulness and meditation. If you've never learned how to meditate before, this is a great practice. Daily anchor, even as little as 5 minutes. And I actually have an amazing guided, if you're the kind of person that it's hard to just sit there and switch your mind off sitting in silence, I have an amazing little guided meditation collection that I'll link up in the show notes. And I'll even share access to a free meditation that I have, a self love and inner healing meditation that'll be really supportive, and literally just 10 minutes a day. It can really reduce those cortisol levels significantly. Breath work, right? Whatever we do to our breath, we do to our mind. So when we start to change the rhythms of our breathing, we actually have a very direct access point to changing the rhythms of our mind, changing our thoughts, changing our stress levels on a biochemical level. So we'll get more into breath work for sleep in a future lesson. I'm going to share with you some specific breathing practices that you can do. Yoga is, of course, great. It's kind of two in one. You're getting some movement in your body, but you're also reducing stress levels. So it's exercise and therapy all at once, which is great. If you like having some sort of gratitude practice, so something that I like to do at the end of the day, or my partner and I do it when we're just laying in bed at night getting ready to sleep, is we'll just share what's three things that you're grateful for. What was the best moment of your day? It's a nice little hack to just really slip into that state of gratitude, which is a state of parasympathetic nervous system activation. So, the part of our nervous system that is required for rest and relaxation, that rest and digest mode, it pulls us out of the stress, the fight or flight, and into that rest and digest, which is necessary for sleep. And gratitude is a great entrance point to that. We can't be simultaneously genuinely grateful and in fight or flight. They're just opposite parts of our nervous system at work. So, that's maybe a nice practice for you and maybe your partner before bed, or just yourself with your journal, or even just as you're laying in bed with your eyes closed, just what's three things that I'm grateful for from today, and take a few deep breaths with it. So journaling can be really supportive overall. Epsom salt baths, dream. So, so good. So, for a few reasons. One, of course, like the warmth has a very calming, soothing effect for our nervous system, a warm bath. But we also add in there some Epsom salts. And Epsom salts is magnesium sulfate. And magnesium is one of the best tranquilizers for the nervous system. It has a very tranquilizing, calming, soothing effect on our nervous system, and helps us again activate that parasympathetic nervous system state. Parasympathetic, rest and digest. It's that part of our nervous system. Pulls us out of fight or flight into rest and digest. So that's a two in one as well. Sauna is really great. It's also another two in one. You get great detoxification, which is essential for, eliminating toxins that may be messing with your nervous system and not allowing you to fall asleep at night. But it's also, again, that warmth is really calming and soothing and balancing for the body and mind. So, self massage or getting a massage, right? We've got over here in therapies, massage therapy, but this is also a great daily practice that we can do. So, in ancient Ayurveda, one of the oldest medical sciences known to humankind, we have this practice called abhyanga or self massage, where we're taking some sometimes herbally medicated oils or simply sesame oil or olive oil, and we're massaging the body. And that oil has a very coating and soothing, almost like a balm on all of the nerve endings in the skin, and has a very grounding, soothing effect. So, this is one of the best practices that we can do, before you jump in your bath at night, or before you have a shower at night, or even if you have special clothes, like I have Abhyanga clothes, and I have a little Abhyanga hair wrap because I do it to my head as well. It's like the most relaxing, grounding, balancing thing. And I wrap my hair up so I don't mess with my pillows and my sheets, my linens. And that's a really excellent practice as well. So calming for the nervous system. Spending time in nature. This is so important. I mean, getting out in nature, whether you're just sitting on your grass in your yard under your sunshine during the day, or you go down to the river, or you go to the beach, or you go for a hike, or you go for a walk outside. That's so important because number one, we're getting those negative ions, which is so balancing for our nervous system. It's so calming for our mind. And two, we're getting fresh air, we're getting outside, we're getting some vitamin D, we're getting plenty of serotonin during the day. And serotonin, our happiness daytime chemical, is actually a precursor to melatonin, our sleep chemical. So if we're not getting enough serotonin or happiness chemical throughout the day, which one way we can stimulate that is through sunshine, right? Being in the sun, it stimulates serotonin. No wonder we feel so happy when we're at the beach or out in nature. We're getting this dose of, serotonin. And that in turn helps us to turn on melatonin at night. So those two chemicals also go hand in hand, serotonin, melatonin. And then we've got some therapies. So, what is it, right? I mean, there's things on a daily basis that we need just to help calm our nervous system, kind of release the daily tensions from our day, the daily stressors, and having maintenance practices and daily doses of that. So I like to say, we want to spend 15 minutes a day. This is your personal goal. Okay. 15 minutes a day in that parasympathetic nervous system state. So, what is that? That is the state where you are in such a deep relaxation. Maybe you've been to a yoga class. You remember at the end of the yoga class when the yoga teacher says, okay, lie down flat on your back on your mat. We're going to do Shavasana, that final relaxation pose. You're laying there and you're just breathing and you're there for maybe 10, 15 minutes and you go into such a tranquil state inside. Your nervous system is just brought right back to that parasympathetic state, back into balance. You might access the same state through a yoga nidra practice or through breath work or meditation or self massage or having a bath or laying under the sun for 15 minutes. But every single day, the goal is 15 minutes in that state. Okay. In addition to our daily maintenance of stress management, we may also work with some different therapies. So maybe once a week or once a month, a couple times a month, these can be really great practices to start to work with to change not just reducing stress in the body, but changing our relationship to stress. So if we notice that we're constantly worrying about finances or we're constantly, struggling in our relationships and that's affecting our emotional well-being, it's taking up a lot of head space, a lot of heart space. If we're worried about family concerns or you're constantly worrying about your kids or feeling anxious or overwhelmed about work and all of your responsibilities, sometimes these types of therapies are really supportive because they don't change the stressor, right? They don't change your financial state, but they change your relationship to your financial state, right? And that's by working on our mindset, working on our emotional well being, doing things like mindset coaching. This is what I do with my clients, therapy, or I do holistic counseling with my clients to really understand our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions at a deeper level. Somatic healing. So there's different emotional release techniques and practices to actually move what we might be holding on to in our nervous system, events from the past, things from our childhood, and so on, and actually releasing that from our body, releasing trauma. Then, of course, other therapies like Reiki or energy healing can be really supportive, massage therapy, acupuncture, and so on and so forth. So there's many great techniques, but what I'd love for you to take away from this lesson is really the role of stress when it comes to lacking in our sleep, and therefore how we can really optimize our sleep at the deepest levels. One of the best things you can do is get on top of your stress. So my invitation is I'd love for you to right now pick one daily practice, 15 minutes a day. If you need to break it up into two, that's fine. Let's say 15 minutes feels a little overwhelming. 7.5 minutes in the morning, 7.5 minutes in the afternoon of breath work, meditation, whatever it is. And I'll link up some more ideas below this video as well. And throughout the whole program, we'll be adding, additional resources as we go. So every time you check back, there may be another resource. So make sure that you have a look and please add it to your calendar, because knowing how to manage your stress without actually practically putting it on your calendar so that it's actually going to become something that you do on a regular or daily basis, that information without embodiment, without actually doing it, is useless. So pause me or finish this video, go ahead, add that to your calendar, and I'll see you back for the next lesson real soon. We're getting into nutrition and eating habits for optimal sleep. So I will see you there.